Wow, what a year it has been. It is finally time to wrap up 2025 and look back at the progress of passenger rail projects across Canada. Before we jump in, we want to thank all of you, our viewers, subscribers, Discord community, and those that follow along on social medias or through railfans.ca. Your support allows us to produce in-depth coverage of the projects shaping Canada's rail future. If you'd like to support the channel even further, you can also explore our merch collection and show your support for Canada's transit networks. And of course, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what we have planned for 2026. As always, all the links are in the description. In Québec City, 2025 marked a year of stabilization and renewed momentum for TramCité. CDPQ Infra advanced procurement for the project's two major delivery packages. The rolling stock contracts with Alstom remains in place, with work continuing in 2025 to refine and finalize the vehicle design. Throughout the year, TramCité moved through key procurement milestones, including market engagement activities, the qualification of civil and systems consortium, and the signing of interface agreements between the Government of Quebec, the Cité of Québec, and CDPQ Infra. Those steps clarified responsibilities and finally allowed the project to return to active development. Underground utility relocations and geotechnical investigations resumed during the summer, preparing the right-of-way for future guideway construction and reducing the need for later interventions. With procurement advancing and early works underway, TramCité is expected to enter the co-development phase once major contracts are finalized, leading to a full project submission in 2027. Subject to final approvals, the 19-kilometer line remains targeted to open in 2033. In Montreal, 2025 was a milestone year for the Réseau Express Métropolitain, marked by the long-awaited opening of the Deux-Montagnes branch on November 17. This restored rail service through the Mont-Royal tunnel and brought the REM network to 50 kilometers in service. While the Deux-Montagnes branch is now active, the Anselon branch requires additional testing and systems integration. Its opening has been deferred to spring 2026. The airport branch also progressed throughout the year, with tunnel and guideway structures substantially complete. Construction continued at Marie Curie and Montréal Trudeau Station, with architectural finishes, system installation, and station fit-out underway. The branch remains on track for a 2027 opening. The Blue Line extension progressed a lot in 2025. 2 years in a row with actual progress. Amazing! In September, the STM unveiled the final names for the 5 future stations, paying tribute to the communities and figures along the alignment. Excavation progressed significantly at all future station sites, with Vertières and Madeleine-Parent already completed. Work will continue at the remaining sites in 2026 as preparations shift towards station construction. The TBM, custom built in Germany and nearly 10 meters in diameter, arrived in October 2025 to dig the single-bore tunnel and is now being assembled at the future Vertières station. Tunneling is scheduled to begin in spring 2026 and continue for roughly 2 years towards Anjou station. In addition to the ongoing physical worksite, early architectural renders for the stations were released, with final designs to be shared after procurement. The Blue Line extension remains targeted to open in 2031. In Ottawa, 2025 began with the long-awaited milestone, the opening of the O Trains Line 2 and 4 on January 6. They are the first of the Stage 2 LRT project to enter service, restoring and enhancing service between Bayview and Riverside South, as well as delivering a dedicated airport rail link for the city. For Stage 2 East, testing and commissioning activities advanced significantly throughout the year. Performance and integration testing allowed for the validation of running speeds, systems behavior, and operator training. Further testing is expected over the coming weeks, as substantial completion has not yet been reached and some remedial work remains underway. Station construction and commissioning are, for the most part, complete, with Trim Station being open during Doors Open Ottawa, offering the public its first glimpse of the eastern terminus of Line 1. Trial running and final commission activities are expected to start in early January, targeting an opening by spring 2026. On the West Extension, civil and system works advanced considerably. Track installation is effectively complete across most of the western segment, including in the Kitchizibimikan tunnel, while overhead catenary system work has progressed throughout the extension with some segments of the OCS installed. Station construction is mostly completed, with landscaping work and bus loop construction underway. 2025 also marked the first train movements on the western alignment, an important step towards full system integration. Upcoming activities in 2026 will include finalizing the OCS, testing, and Hopefully, most certification activities, paving the way for a targeted opening in 2027. In the Greater Toronto and Hamilton area, 2025 saw major construction advance across multiple subway, LRT, and regional rail projects. On the Scarborough subway extension, Diggy Stardust advanced more than 3 kilometers beneath Scarborough, continuing excavation of the single-bore tunnel carrying trains in both directions along the 7.8 kilometer extension. Above ground, construction began at Scarborough Centre Station, while the TBM extraction shaft was completed, setting the stage for the final phase of tunneling. Updated station renderings released this year offered a clearer look at the future stations, as work sites continue to get underway. The extension remains targeted to open in 2030. After several years of preparatory work on the Yonge North subway extension, Metrolinx awarded the tunneling contract in August, clearing the way for the project's most significant construction phase to begin. In parallel, Metrolinx also shared early concepts of the station, offering a first look at the architectural vision for the future stations along the extension. Those concepts are intended to guide the next stage of detailed design as procurement progresses. Procurement for the station's rail and systems launched in October, aiming to identify the consortium responsible for tunnel fit-out. The Yonge North subway extension still targets an opening later this decade, pending future milestones and approvals. Following the start of procurement in 2024, the TTC took a major step towards renewing its subway fleet in 2025. The TTC was authorized in August to proceed with a single-source contract for its new subway trains, cancelling the previously launched competitive process. Alstom will supply 76 car train sets, which includes 55 trains to replace the aging T1 fleet on Line 2, 15 additional trains to support the future Scarborough and Yonge North subway extensions, and an option for additional trains to meet future needs throughout the network. The new fleet is expected to be launched alongside the rollout of automatic train control on Line 2, allowing for more frequent, reliable, and efficient service. The first trains are expected to enter service in 2030, with the TTC continuing to maintain the existing fleet until the new vehicle arrives. The Ontario line continues to take shape, with new work sites activating throughout the city. Excavation advanced considerably at all downtown station sites, with major milestones including completed excavation at Moss Park and at the future exhibition station launch shaft. The project's first 2 tunnel boring machines arrived in June and are now being prepared for assembly ahead of a 2026 launch under downtown Toronto. The second major tunneling project along Pape Avenue is also progressing, with the launch shaft under construction. Stations and guideway construction is getting underway. Early works continued on elevated guideway segments, while construction began on the new rail bridge in Toronto's East End. In June, major work started at the East Harbour Transit Hub. The newly built structure will, over the coming years, be transformed into a key interchange between the Future Line and GO Transit service in the East End. The 15.6 km automated line remains planned to open in the early 2030s. Beyond the subway projects, 2025 also saw major movement on Toronto's surface rapid transit lines. Finch West officially opened to passengers on December 7, becoming the first line outside of Ottawa to enter service using Alstom's Cité de Spirit vehicles. Leading up to opening day, the project went through a final 30-day revenue demonstration in September as the TTC ramped up testing and validation. However, early service has been extremely slow, with trains frequently getting caught at intersections without full signal priority. To be fair, Toronto City Council voted in December to accelerate the implementation of more aggressive transit priority measures along Finch West, while also committing to review operational improvements for other surface transit lines, including the not yet opened Eglinton Crosstown. We hope that those improvements will bring much needed speed to the line, as well as for future Toronto rapid transit projects. Work on the Eglinton Crosstown continued in 2025. Yes, we know. Software updates, operational testing, and emergency response scenarios remain ongoing throughout the year. Metrolinx maintains that the project is nearing completion, with a revenue service demonstration still required before opening. A familiar milestone for anyone who's been following this project for a while. As of the end of 2025, the 19.5 km line remains technically complete, but not yet open to passengers. On the Eglinton Crosstown West extension, 2025 was a year of steady and visible progress. Following the completion of major tunneling in 2024, work shifted towards the remaining tunnels, elevated structures, and systems development. Tunneling west of Mount Dennis began in April and is expected to continue into 2026, setting the stage for full guideway construction. Construction also began on the elevated guideway over the Humber River, with foundation and pier work advancing through the spring. A major milestone came in August 2025 with the selection of Trillium Rail partners, allowing detailed development of the stations, track, and system to move forward ahead of the full construction approval. While a definitive opening date has yet to be confirmed, Metrolinx continues to target an early 2030s opening. And at this pace, the Crosstown West extension may well open before the original Line 5 does. Construction continues along Hurontario Avenue for the Hazel-McCallion LRT. Guideway construction, road widening, utility relocations, and station structures progressed across the alignment, while track work progressed on the Highway 403 elevated structure and at the future operations, maintenance, and storage facility. Work on key systems, including overhead catenary, signaling, and system integration has started in some parts of the alignment, but is expected to mostly occur in the new year. No new information was released this year on the revived downtown Mississauga or Square One extension, and there's still no confirmed opening date. Procurement for Hamilton LRT advanced with the Civil and Utilities Work Package. Metrolinx issued the request for proposals in May. The selected team should be announced in early 2026, allowing for the development phase to formally begin. Metrolinx and the selected partner will work collaboratively to complete the necessary civil works to stabilize the right-of-way, move utilities, and prepare for the construction of tracks, stations, and systems in the following project package. In the meantime, site surveys and utility works are expected to continue throughout 2026. No opening timeline has been confirmed for the project at this time. In 2025, GO Expansion quietly but significantly changed direction. Construction continued across the network, from track and station works to major corridor upgrades. But the broader promise of frequent electrified rail was effectively rescoped mid-year. A reset that was easier to notice in contracts and slide decks than in public updates. Metrolinx confirmed it had shifted towards a more limited, phased approach focused first on the lakeshore corridors, with other lines pushed to later stages. This reset also coincides with the termination of the unexpressed operations contract, highlighting further disagreement between the involved parties. Even so, key modernization elements like ETCS remains part of the program, just increasingly phased and concentrated where electrified service is expected to arrive first. For riders and communities, 2025 was less of a year of new service wins, and more a year where GO's expansion's ambitions got recalibrated, with plenty of work happening on the ground, but fewer clear answers on what full GO expansion ultimately means. The return of the Northlander is closer than ever. A key milestone was the completion of the North Bay Rail Bypass, allowing passenger trains to avoid the North Bay Rail Yard. Station work also advanced in 2025, with platform reconstruction and modern, accessible shelters rolling out in communities along the route, while major station modernization work began in Englehart and Cochrane. These upgrades are focused on accessibility, passenger comfort, and creating a consistent experience across the line. On the fleet side, the 3 Siemens train sets are in various stages of manufacturing and are expected to be delivered in early 2026, allowing for testing to begin. The Siemens Venture train sets, almost identical to the Via Rail ones, each have 3 cars and feature modern amenities like onboard Wi-Fi, outlets, a fully accessible layout, as well as galley-style service. With infrastructure, stations, and trains all advancing in parallel, the Northlander is on track for return to service in 2026, reconnecting communities across northeastern Ontario for the first time in over a decade. Maybe we should pick up the speed, is what Justin Trudeau said in February 2025. High-frequency rail was formally replaced by ALTO, the new Crown Corporation tasked with delivering Canada's first high-speed rail network. Roughly 1,000 kilometers of frequent, 300 km/h plus service between Toronto and Québec City. 2025 marked the project's real starting line. Alongside ALTO's launch, Cadence was selected as a private development partner, kicking off the development phase. More clarity followed throughout the year, including details about the phased delivery approach, early travel time estimates, and refinements to the approach. Work also began on identifying the preferred alignment, while early outreach ramped up with Indigenous communities, municipalities, industry groups, and other stakeholders along the corridor. In September, the federal government added ALTO to the Major Project Office, a move aimed at accelerating approvals and compressing the development timeline from a previously expected 8 years to roughly 4. The biggest update came on December 12th, when the government confirmed that Ottawa, Laval, and Montreal will be the first construction phase of the network. This approximately 200 km segment was selected to deliver early benefits, allow work to proceed in both Ontario and Quebec simultaneously, and build momentum for the rest of the corridor. Construction on this first phase is now expected to begin in 2029. Early next year, public consultations will begin, alongside further details on alignment and expected station locations. Procurement and technical development will continue, with the first segment currently targeting a mid-2030s opening. Subsequent phases toward Toronto and Québec City are expected to advance in parallel, though their timelines remain under development. All this to say, it's finally happening. We hope. Edmonton's Valley Line West advanced considerably in 2025, with major works progressing steadily across the corridor. By the end of September, the project's infrastructure was more than 50% complete. Throughout the year, road reconstruction, utilities, drainage, and track work continued across most segments, while station construction advanced at key locations, including West Edmonton Mall and Misericordia Hospital. Progress also continued at the Lewis Farms storage facility, where track work and building construction moved forward. Systems work became increasingly visible in 2025, with overhead catenary installation progressing alongside guideway construction. The project also benefited from an accelerated road work program, allowing several major intersections to reopen sooner than expected and reduce long-term disruptions for surrounding communities. On the fleet side, the first Hyundai Rotem light rail vehicles arrived in Edmonton in July and was successfully powered and tested over the summer. Future works will include the completion of the remaining road restorations, track slab constructions, station fit-out, and continuing work at the storage and maintenance facility. Valley Line West remains on track for 2028 opening. Progress on the future Metro Line Northwest extension remained limited in 2025. Phase 2 is currently funded only for land acquisitions and corridor protections, while Phase 3 remains in preliminary design. No construction funding, procurement timeline, or opening dates have been announced for the remaining phases. Construction formally ramped up in 2025 on the Capital Line South, following the award of the design-build contract in 2024. Major works including piling for the 23 Avenue underpass, foundation and bridge work at Black Mud Creek, early construction on the Anthony and Day Drive LRT bridge, and site preparation for stations and the Hugh Lawrence operations and maintenance facility. With major construction expected to last 4 to 5 years, 2025 marked Capital Line South's transition from planning into full delivery. Calgary's Green Line LRT regained momentum in 2025 after years of uncertainty, marking the project's transition from planning and political reset into active delivery. With full funding and approvals secured from all 3 orders of government, construction ramped up across the southeast segment, with work underway at 5 major sites by the end of the year. Early works throughout the year focused on preparing the corridor for full construction. This included major excavation at the future maintenance and storage facility, geotechnical investigations, piling for elevated guideway structures, and a series of enabling projects designed to reduce future traffic disruptions. Environmental and technical groundwork also advanced in parallel, alongside the launch of Calgary's first Indigenous construction monitoring program. Between June and October, several major contracts were awarded for bridges, road realignment, and site preparations, establishing the foundation for mainline construction. Procurement will continue in 2026, with contractors expected to be selected for elevated structures, at-grade sections, river crossings, guideways, tunnels, and core system including signaling, traction power, communications, and track work. Planning also continues for the downtown segment, where the city is advancing a functional plan for the elevated alignment through the Beltline and downtown. Pending final contract awards, the redesigned Green Line remains targeted to open in 2031. In Vancouver, construction on the Broadway subway extension moved away from tunneling and deep excavation into station completion, track install, and systems preparation. With all tunneling complete and the station boxes structurally advanced, work focused on finishing underground station structures and preparing Broadway for reconstruction above. By the fall, station roofs had been completed at 3 of the 6 new underground stations, enabling the next major phase of work: stage removal of the temporary traffic decks and the reconstruction of Broadway itself, beginning in early 2026. Below ground, track installation advanced through the tunnels. By late 2025, rail installation had been completed through the westbound tunnel towards Arbutus, with track installation continuing in the eastbound tunnel. Walkways, lighting, communication systems, and other core rail infrastructure are being installed in parallel throughout the extension and will continue in 2026. Interior station fit-out also progressed throughout the year. Escalators, vertical circulation elements, and architectural components became increasingly visible at multiple stations. At Broadway City Hall, work continued to expand the existing Canada Line platforms and construct the underground connection that will link the extension with the Canada Line once the project opens. On the surface, utility reinstatement and early streetscape restorations started along portions of the corridor, beginning the process of returning Broadway to its permanent configuration. The coming year will be defined by continued station fit-out, systems integration, testing, and commissioning as the project continues to target an opening in late 2027. Construction of the Surrey Langley SkyTrain extension also advanced a lot throughout the year. Elevated guideway construction continued, with all 4 gantry launchers assembled and beginning their respective routes to install the precast concrete segments that will form the future guideway. Station construction also ramped up, with foundation work at the future station sites, alongside the construction of guideway piers. In parallel, extensive utility relocation, road widening, and traffic reconfigurations continued to support ongoing efforts. Construction also advanced at the dedicated precast concrete facility, where guideway segments are being produced to supply the gantry launchers, as well as at the future Operations and Maintenance Center, a critical element in supporting the expanded Expo Line fleet. Focus in the coming years will shift towards completing the elevated guideway, advancing station superstructures and architecture, and preparing for systems installation, testing, and commissioning. The extension remains targeted for opening in 2028. Via Rail's long-distance fleet replacement program advanced through the procurement phase in 2025. The RFP for the locomotives was launched in March 2025, while the one for the passenger cars launched in June. While no public update has yet been provided on the outcome of the procurement process, selected proposals are expected to be announced in 2026. If the program proceeds on its current schedule, the first new locomotives and passenger cars are expected to enter service around 2030, with full fleet delivery targeted for completion by 2035. The program will replace some of the oldest rolling stock still operating in North America with modern, fully accessible, and more efficient equipment, significantly improving reliability and passenger experience across VRL's national network. If you can't tell by the length of this video, 2025 has been an exceptionally busy year for passenger rail across Canada. From major construction milestones to long-awaited openings and long-term programs finally moving forward, momentum is clearly building. There is even more to come in the years ahead, and we're looking forward to continuing to document, explain, and explore every step of the journey. If you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to Rail Fans Canada so you do not miss our future coverage from one coast to the other.